in 2017, my business partner of 6 years looked me in the eye and told me I was the problem, that the company would never grow with me in it, that I was holding everything back. She had already spoken to the investors behind my back. She had already had the lawyers draft the paperwork. She had already decided. I was removed from the company I had co-founded, the company I had given 6 years of my life to. I left with a fraction of what I was owed and a non-compete agreement that stopped me from working in my own industry for 18 months. She thought that was the end of my story. 5 years later, I sat across from her in a boardroom, a different boardroom, and I made her an offer on his company. She had no choice but to accept. Sarah and I met in college. We were both studying business, both broke, both completely convinced we were going to build something great one day. We were the kind of friends who spent weekends sketching out business ideas on napkins. We trusted each other completely, finishing each other's sentences, covering each other's rent when times were tight, building each other up when the world pushed back. We launched our company at 26, a digital marketing agency, small at first, just the two of us working out of my apartment. I handled the creative side. Sarah handled the client relationships. Within 3 years, we had 11 employees, a real office, and revenues that made us both feel like we had actually done it, like the napkin sketches had become real. And then we brought in outside investors. That was the beginning of the end. The investors liked Sarah. Sarah was polished, charming, exactly what venture money looks like in a room. And slowly, so slowly I almost didn't notice, Sarah started positioning herself as the visionary and me as the support system. In meetings I had run for 3 years, I started being talked over. My ideas started being credited to the room in general. My name started disappearing from decks I had built. By year 6, I was a stranger in my own company. The meeting that ended everything was on a Thursday in October. Sarah called it a routine check-in. When I walked in, our 2 lead investors were already seated. So was a lawyer I had never met. SARS did not waste time. She had prepared a presentation about the company's future direction. Slide 4 was titled Leadership Restructuring. My name was not in it. She argued that the company needed a single, decisive leader to scale, that shared founding structures created confusion, that the investors agreed that this was purely strategic. She never once looked me in the eye. I had 2 choices in that room: fight, which meant a legal battle that would drain me financially and publicly, while Sarah kept running the company with investor backing behind her, or take the exit package, sign the non-compete, and walk away. The exit package was insultingly small. 18 months of non-compete meant I could not work in digital marketing, the only industry I knew, until mid-2019. I signed because I had a plan already forming in the back of my mind, and because I knew something Sarah did not. Without my creative direction, her company was a car with no engine. It looked good from the outside, but it was not going anywhere. I just needed to be patient enough to watch. The 18 months of non-compete were the most valuable 18 months of my life. I could not work in digital marketing, so I did something Sarah never expected. I studied everything adjacent to it. I spent 6 months learning product development, 6 months studying venture capital from the investor side, 6 months building relationships quietly with people in industries Sarah had never thought to touch. I also watched Sarah company very carefully from the outside. Within 8 months of my exit, 3 of our best creative team members had quietly resigned. The clients who had specifically requested my work started leaving. The agency's output became generic, the kind of work that wins no awards and retains no clients long-term. Sarah hired replacements, burned through 2 creative directors in 14 months, kept telling investors the dip was temporary. It was not temporary. The day my non-compete expired, I made 1 phone call, to the client who had been our very first, a man named Gerald who had believed in us from the beginning and who had left Sarah Agency quietly 6 months after I did. Gerald did not hesitate. He said, "I have been waiting for this call for over a year." I launched my new company with Gerald as my anchor client, 3 of my former team members who had also left Sarah Agency, and a completely different model. One I had spent 18 months designing specifically to outcompete everything Sarah had built. We were profitable in 5 months. By year 4 of my new company, we had grown to 32 employees, nearly 3 times what Sarah and I had ever built together. We had won industry awards. We had been featured in 2 major trade publications, and we had quietly become the agency that Sarah's own former clients were migrating to. Sarah's company, meanwhile, had been struggling badly. The investors who had backed his takeover had grown impatient. The agency had shrunk from 11 people to 5. They had lost 4 major accounts in 1 year. And then I received a call from one of the original investors, the one who had sat in that room on that Thursday in October and watched Sarah push me out. She was not calling to apologize. She was calling because Sarah's company was looking for an acquisition, and my name had come up as a potential buyer. I want you to sit with that for a moment. The woman who removed me from my own company, who froze me out of my own industry, who shook my hand and smiled while her lawyers handed me a non-compete. That woman's company was now on sale, and I was on the list of people with enough money and enough motive to buy it. I took the meeting. Sarah walked in looking tired, older. She glanced at me once and looked away quickly. I imagined seeing me across that table, in a room that was mine, surrounded by a team that was mine. Negotiating the purchase of everything she had taken was not a comfortable experience. I made a fair offer, not a generous one, a fair one. She accepted it the same day. I absorbed her remaining clients, retired her brand entirely, and kept 2 of her 5 employees who I knew had real talent. The company Sarah had stolen from me, the one she told investors I was holding back, no longer exists. It was swallowed whole by the one I built from nothing after she threw me out. People ask me if I feel sorry for Sarah. I do not. But I also do not hate her anymore. Hatred is expensive. It costs you focus. It costs you energy. It costs you the very thing you need most when someone tries to destroy you: clarity. What I did in those 5 years was not about revenge. I did not wake up every morning thinking about Sarah. I woke up every morning thinking about what I was building. The revenge was just what happened naturally when I refused to stay down. That is the thing nobody tells you about people who betray you. They are counting on you to be too broken to come back. They are counting on the humiliation to keep you small. They are counting on you to believe the story they told about you. That you were the problem. That you were the weak link. That you needed them more than they needed you. The most powerful thing you can ever do to someone who counted you out is prove them catastrophically wrong. If someone has tried to take something from you, your confidence, your career, your belief in yourself, I want you to hear this. Let them think they won. Then get to work. If this story lit something up in you, leave a comment, tell me who counted you out, and if you are new here, subscribe. Because every story on this channel is about one thing: people who were underestimated, and what happened when they decided to stop being quiet about it.